Parshas Tetzaveh, Tovshin Pin Gimel, B'siyata D'Shmaya L'Kovet Purim. In the Shoshanas Yaakov that we sing on Purim, we say, Lo Idia, Shekol Koivecha Lo Yevoishu, V'lo Yikomu L'Netzach Kol HaChoysim Boch. Which means that we read the Megillah, we say the story, and we remind ourselves, in order that we should take it into our conscious, Lo Idia, that we should have a very deep and reminder that people that they trust in the Rebbeinu Shalom are never going to, the Rebbe is not going to let go of them, and they're not going to be embarrassed that they were constantly trusting in the Rebbeinu Shalom. Lo Yevoshe v'lo yikomu l'netzach is once again repeating the same concept. Klima is one of the words of embarrassment. It will never be embarrassing the people that trust in the Rebbeinu Shalom. Kol HaChoysim Boch. Now, in a little bit broader, the Rambam, when the Rambam explains all the mitzvahs, each mitzvah, what you need to do, how to do it, why we do it. So when he finishes the Taryag mitzvahs, the Rambam speaks about the Rabbanon mitzvahs. So the Rambam says you have to read the Megillah. Why? So the Rambam says, in order to speak about the Rebbeinu Shalom's chasadim to us, that he saves us from tzoros, and in order to lohidia ledoros, to let know to the generations that are going to come, the doros aboim, that it's true what the Rebbeinu Shalom promised us, she'emes ma sheyitachnu b'Torah umi goy godol asher lo yalekim, which is the pasuk in Parshas Vayeschanan, that the Rebbeinu Shalom is talking about the Jewish nation, the Ummah, that the Yidden, what's their greatness? You know what? That whenever they reach out to Rebbeinu Shalom, Hashem listens and hears that tefillas. Whenever you reach out to Rebbeinu Shalom, he hears our tefillas. Now the Rambam is saying that the Torah is telling us, the Rabbanan told us to read the Megillah, so we should remember how tefillas get niskabel, how people's davenings, that Hashem listens and Hashem is going to answer.
As history went on, many times Am Yisrael davened, and the answer didn't come like in the Megillah.
So he's asking a question. He's saying as history went on, many times he didn't davened, and the answer didn't come like it comes in the Megillah. So that's an important question. It's one of the famous. We're reviewing the Yesodus of Bitachon of Tzadik V'Ra'aloi, maybe. So when we enter a Yontiv, we have to be able to experience the Yontiv with the Yesodus of Bitachon, understanding it better and deeper, more Yesodi. So actually, the Rambam, which relates this posik, that whenever Yidden daven, they get a respond. The Rebbeinu Shalom listens to them always. B'chol koreinu elov. The Rambam is not the first that's saying this pasuk is connected to the Megillah. In Masechtas Megillah, where the Gemara, the whole end of the first page, where the Gemara goes through pasuk by pasuk from the Megillah explaining it. So there's like a whole amud of the Gemara that the Gemara says that different rabbis, different teachers, they used to teach the Megillah Amayroim, they used to give a header, Hakdama, Pasach loy pischa lahai parashas hamayacha. They would say an introduction to learning the Megillah. So they would pick a pasuk, if it's a Nach, if it's wherever it is, they would pick this pasuk and they would say, oh, "Wow, this pasuk is a proper introduction to the Megillas Esther." Like if you want to give it out a one-liner. So the Gemara brings this pasuk. The Gemara says that there was a Amora that used to start the Megillah, that the Rebbeinu Shalom tells us in Parshas Vayeschanan in the Torah that the Jewish nation is special. It's a goy godol. It's a nation that the Rebbeinu Shalom listens to their tefillas always, in any situation, as dark as it feels. The Rebbeinu Shalom listens to their tefillas and helps them. That was the introduction to the Megillah Esther. So the Rambam here puts it in and says why? Because if we look at the story of the Megillah, there was a terrible, terrible tzara, and the Yidden davened, and look what happened. Look what happened in the end. So you see, that's what happens. And the faith that they had, the trust that they had in the Rebbeinu Shalom, they weren't let down. They weren't embarrassed that they held on so tight and they kept on saying Hashem is going to help. Why? Because look what happened to them. So let's try to elaborate. If it's true that every single time a person davens, it's like a machine, you put in a coin and the Yeshua comes, then you don't have to put up signs about it. You don't have to read the Megillas Esther. Why? Because go out in the street, try it. You'll see it works. You don't have to say there was a story, it happened in between the first Beis HaMikdash and second Beis HaMikdash. Loidia, you have to be moidia it. You have to scream and make Persum and Nisei Vaisha come together. There's nothing to do. It's simple math. It's 1 + 1. If you do it, it works. I guess it's not so simple. So you need to be moidia. It's like a certain light from the Torah that has to enter the person's heart. So he should comprehend. He should like get it. He should feel it. He should understand that it's true. And that is because the Rebbeinu Shalom made that should be a hester on that. That means it should be covered. It shouldn't be so simple. You shouldn't always see. You should have to be mizboinen. I mean, you should have to look into it and understand it, and the Rebbeinu Shalom should open a person's eyes that a person should be able to see it. But once you're going to be zocher to that light, then you chap that it's always. But it doesn't come stamazai. I mean, sometimes you have to see what happened before and what happened afterwards. The Megillas Esther is one of the biggest examples, the strongest examples for this concept. Because once again, by Megillas Esther, each part of the story on its own, you didn't see anything happening. It was only when you connected the dots that we saw the story. So it's a limud. The limud is that sometimes you have to connect the dots. The Chedush Harim used to say that imagine someone would walk into the shul where the Olam was sitting and learning big masmidim, and he would say, just want to let the Olam know, happens to be Achashverosh killed Vashti. They would say, excuse me, we're in the middle of learning. All right, next. I'd say that. Next, if you would talk about the second part of the story, there was Bixen Beseresh, and they wanted to kill Achashverosh. Motcha overheard and told Achashverosh, we don't listen to news. Since Purim last year, I don't listen to news. That's every part of the Megillah. So you need to have a siyata d'shmaya to be able to connect the dots and say, well, 1 second, I davened for this, and in the end of the story, this is what happened. Not always you see it right away. That's designed in a way that it's a light that the Eibush has to, or the Eibush reveals it, or the Eibush doesn't reveal it. But it's not going to be on its own. Sometimes it is clear. But that's where you need to make lohidia. Lohidia is that you should be able to see that it never happens that the Baal Bitachon is able to leaves go, or he had a disappointment. It didn't work. Kol koivecha. Also the pasuk b'chol koreinu elav. But there is a hester, and that's where we need to strengthen our amuna. We need to strengthen our chizik in it, and that's why we read the Megillah Esther, in order to get that light that we should get it even when we don't see it. B'shas Maisa. There's many stories. People like to write the stories that happen b'shas Maisa, but it's not. That doesn't give out the point. The point we get when you have to connect the dots, when you don't see the Maisa take it from Yad, and then years later, then you see it. That's the story of the Megillah, because only then you could say that it's Lelo Yotzim and Akla. This is one of the answers of Tzaddik V'Raloi. That when you have a question, when you have something like, how could it be? He's going through this. So one of the simple answers is, it's Anar. In Yiddish they say, Anar Weissmanishkan halba arbet. How would you translate that? Someone that's missing chokhmah, Anar, and someone that's dumb or something, you can't show him a half of when you're building something and you already finished making the chveisvas, you didn't do the sheetrock yet, but you could see walls, you could see floors, you could see where the steps is going to be. You show him a half of it, so he says, "This is crazy. You can't live here. This is not normal. This is going to be shkoyach. You have to." We're middle of doing the job. What does a chacham say? A chacham says, "Wow, this really looks like something nice. You're drawing something beautiful here." Because Ezer Chacham Royas and Oilad, so that's why he sees it, but he visions how it's going to look when it's going to be the end of the story. So a person davens and feels close to the Rebbeinu Shalom, they could already Haroyas and Oilad means he doesn't only know vaguely about the future. He could live it. He could be excited because of the future, because he could right now experience the future.
I heard advice. Somebody came to the Rishner with a problem, and the churchkever was then a little boy, and he asked the man, "Why did you come?" He said, "I have a tzara. I have to ask your father for a bracha." When he came out, the boy asked, "What did my father say?" He said, "Hashem Yazor." So the boy said, "But what's going to be until Hashem helps?" He says, "I don't know." He says, "Go ask him." So he went, he asked the Rishner. The Rishner had enough from the question. He said, "The pasuk says, Kilo ezavcha ad asher masisa es asher dibarti lach." Until Hashem is there, it's still lo ezavcha.
The Eibusher wird helfen, bis der Eibusher wird helfen. During the Rebbeinu is with the person until the full Yeshua comes. There's a Bel Zavod that in the Zmiris before Kiddush, the Onam Melech Malcham Lochem, the second half of Ribbono Elamim, there's a lashon that we say there, Shetrachameni oid begolusi legooleni. We ask Rachmonis from the Ribbono Shalom that he should help us in our golus. So it says the word golus before the word Yeshua, begolusi legooleni. We ask a special tefillah from the Ribbono Shalom that the Eibusher should help us in the golus. We should have a geula right now until we get until you reach the Eibusher doesn't leave go. The Eibusher is with the person until that Yeshua comes. Now that needs chizik. We need Kriyas HaMegillah because that needs chizik. That's something that you need to be moidia. Because it's not something that you could always experience and live it. It's a big fight. It's a big fight. A person should live with that emes, with that simcha. The Rebbeinu Shalom sometimes tells a person, "You're an inch away. Now you're losing it. Now you're getting upset. You're there already. Your mom is there." A person told me he was taking a mortgage, and it was schlepping, and the other side was putting pressure. The date that you were supposed to give me the money already passed 3 weeks ago, and I don't have money, and I'm getting pressure from all the sides. You should know it's not acceptable. You should know if I really want, I could be mevatel the chozeh. So he was trying, and the bank was saying just another paper and just another document, and then now there's a holiday, so the weekend is going to be. You sent it in after 2. So Tuesday, Metashem, we'll look at the paper. So in middle, he told the guy, "Yeah, you told me that yesterday, that it's going to be done. You told me last week, 3 weeks ago tomorrow." So the guy told him, the guy from the bank told him, "Now we're there." He told him, "That's the last document. Why do you have such attitude now?" We lose it because we don't feel the emes. And the Torah gave us kelim, that the Megillah Esther is kelim, that we should feel it before we get there. When you don't see it clearly, you should be able to experience. I have an email here from Ingeman that he wrote me the story just now, 2 weeks ago. He wrote me the story that it just happened. The one that writes the story is from Antwerp. So he says like this, he says it's his cousin, and he wants to share the story. People could take chizik. He says he has a cousin, a younger man, a real close to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and he works on himself, his davening, his learning. He says Zimalamed. He learns with Talmidim, and at night he does tzedakah. When he has extra moment, he sits and learns Torah, mamash, choshev a person. Let's call it the Kavi al Hashem type of person. He lives with the Rebbeinu Shalom. He has a big family, and a few months ago, his oldest daughter, got married to a boy, both in Antwerp. So he says, in the tkufa between the shidduch and the chasana, so someone was matzia, someone suggested that they should buy an apartment here on the 6th floor somewhere. It was an apartment. They had a lot of hardships, but Baruch Hashem, they got through it, Baruch Hashem. But they needed to have furniture. They already were drained from the apartment. They didn't have a penny for furniture. And he says that the mishpacha from the Kala only knows about Torah and Tefillah. So the father doesn't even have understanding to all that. So they left it. He says the whole family. So they left it for the Chossen's family to take care of it. Furniture they gave to the Chossen's family. Now they were busy with it. They looked online. They sent him pictures from what they have. They kept on sending him pictures. They have this, they have that. They got no response. He says they didn't even open up the emails. They didn't have where to put. What are they going to do with the furniture now? They couldn't put it into that apartment because that apartment wasn't free yet to be able to put the furniture in. And they didn't know what they should say. They don't have money. Whatever it is, they have no money. So they davened. And they trusted a bunch of them. They had nothing they could do. The klal is, when you have something to do, you should do it. But if you have zero ishtadas that you could right now, what should I do? So he says, a night before they were supposed to get the keys, a night before they're getting the keys for this new apartment, this person that's telling me the story, that's writing the story, he says, I got a message from a good friend of mine. And he says, do you maybe know of someone? My chavrusa is doing renovations, and he has furniture in a perfect matzav. Everything. Bedroom furniture, and dining room, and kitchen, whatever he could only think of, kitchen table, and everything. And he has to be out of his apartment within a week. So what he did was, he called his cousin, and he says, you have to hear this. I have everything for free, everything. So they said they want the whole thing, package deal. That's not the end of the story. Package deal, they have all the furniture for free. Hakul bakul, from the beginning to the end. Beautiful. The story didn't end. Why? Because they needed a moving truck. It's a job. Whoever did it, it's a job, because you have to, when it comes to furniture, you have to undo it and rebuild it. It's Yana Parsha. And what happened was that in order to put it into the new apartment, it's in a side street. It's in a street which you need to have a crane to get into the 6th floor. And in order to park the crane, you need a ishur, you need a license, you need a permit. So he called up one of the Ingelai there, and he asked, okay, so how much is a permit? How does it work? He looks at him, he says, it doesn't go from today till tomorrow. It's a sipur. You could apply. Metz Hashem. You'll get it. And he says, especially here, he says there's a rakevet akala. There's not a subway. They have in Europe all over, in Antwerp, a light rail train that passes by right there. So you can get it. You could have to stop every 2 minutes every time the train has to pass by. So good luck. Sure. He says, I could try. He tries. He calls back. There's no answer. He has furniture, but there's no mahalach. The father went to shul. He gave tzedakah and he started saying to him. He says, you know what happened? The guy that gave the furniture was so under pressure to see the furniture out of his house that he paid the kablan, the contractor, that he should take everything out of the house and he should get it into the apartment. Just get it into that apartment. So he says, how did he get into that apartment? Listen to the story, first-hand story. He says the contractor's secretary lives on the 6th floor, door to that deed that was bought. Now, from the other side of the street, you don't need to have these permits. So the guy went to his contractor to take care of it. The contractor figured out that his secretary lives there. He did it on his cost. It got into the apartment. It cost him zero. He says the family was stunned because the people were real people. They weren't playing games. This is their means. This is what they have. This is what they don't have. They have the Rebbeinu Shalom. They could try, but they couldn't do anything much further than that. This is a point and case of Leidia Shekol Kavecha Lo Yevoishu. There's so many times that people say, "Yeah, you with your Amun and Bitachon. You shouldn't be having such Amun and Bitachon." So sometimes people are right. If it's not Amun and Bitachon, when it's true, when it's the real thing, then Kol Kavecha Lo Yevoishu. Well, not always, of course. You see it so clearly. You see it right there. But the Megillah Esther is giving us the chizik. It's telling us the name of the game. The name of the game is that if you have true bitachon to the Rebbeinu Shalom, you're doing what's right, you're trying to do what's right, and you're trusting the Rebbeinu Shalom is not going to leave go, then you should know that the end of the story is going to be toiva nigla. The end of the story, maybe it's right now, maybe it's later on in the game, but there's no being embarrassed. Kol hachoysim boch lo yevoishu. We say it in Shemona Esra also. It won't be. The Eibusha won't leave go of a yid that's beteichen the Rebbeinu Shalom, and a person has to really internalize this concept from the Megillah Esther because it has a koyach, it has a light that it could really bring that understanding to the person. We sometimes get bored of saying the same story over and over. The story, if we wouldn't have known this story from when we were young, then it would draw a gewaldige hispailis. It would bring the person to go out of his kalim. Wow. But we know the story. I can tell it to you by heart. And this, and the little kids, they bring home the pictures, big sambaseresh. And it's a shot. There's a famous story that the Belzer Rebbe, the first one, he was a Talmud from the Choyze from Lublin. So when he was a young age, he was a younger man, he was 25 or what. He came to Lublin for Purim, and he was a good Balkoira. So he gave him the kibbutz that he should read the Megillah. After the Megillah, the Choyze from Lublin, his Rebbe said, "You should know, I have heard the story many times, but you said the story so gorgeous. I have never heard someone saying the story so nice." That means that he lived it, he experienced it. The Va'ir Shushan Avoicha was sad, and the Amunah that the Eden had, that they're going to get out of it, and the tshuva that they did, and all that, and they crawled out. It's a one-size-fits-all kind of a story. It's a story that's everybody's story, and that's why it became part of the Torah. This thing that you go down there, and then if a person does tshuva and tefillah and whatever, they get a Yeshua. Now, let's speak about a very simple concept, and it's a review of a lot of the Yesodis that we learned. But we have to remember it while we're entering the Siyontif. Where do we see that Bitachon saved the Matzif? If we started the shir that tefillah, Yidden they did an Aveira, and two things they did. They did tshuva, because they had charot on, they fasted, trying to show regret that they want to come back to the Rebbeinu Shalom, whichever Averas they did. And they davened that they should have a Yeshua, Vayizak, and all that. Now, and the Rebbeinu Shalom heard the tefillas. But where do we see that it was Bitachon? Where was the... So, there's many answers. All of them, of course, are true answers, but it's brought out in many ways. First of all, is that this is one of the mistakes, or one of the parts where people have sometimes they don't have clarity, is that if I believe everything is good, if I believe that Rebbeinu Shalom is doing the best thing, so why should I go daven to change it? Let me just thank Hashem for the matzav, and that's it. Why should I daven that the matzav should be turned around? And that that question usually comes from not remembering what tefillah is supposed to do. The yesod of tefillah is to bring out the bitachon of the person. Bitachon, trusting in the Rebbeinu Shalom, is trusting what it says in the Torah. When you trust Hashem, what are you trusting? You trust in something said. Trusting means that someone told you, I'm gonna bli neder, I borrowed money, I'm gonna give you back every last cent. Even if right now I can't, but take my word. Could I trust you? Yes, I trust you. Or you told someone a secret, and it's something very private. It's something that could cause damage if people know about it. So he says, I want to tell you something, but could I trust you? He says, take my word. Okay, you have my word. It's not going out of this mouth to nobody. Okay, I trust you. That means you're trusting in something. When someone is trusting in the Rebbeinu Shalom, they're what? They're what? That whatever you want is going to happen. What does that have to do with trust? Trust means Hashem said something, I trust Him. I don't see it right now. No. I don't have to see it because He gave me His word, and I know that the Eibishter is emes. If Hashem said that, then it is like that. I do see, I don't see, I trust Him. So in the Megillas Esther, first of all, the Rambam that we quoted before says like this: Lo idia ledoros haboim, to let know for the generation to come, she'emes ma sheyivtachnu b'Torah u'migoy godla shelo yodakim krevim elav. That it's true what He promised us. Hashem gave us His promise. He said, I'm going to listen to you. Every time you reach out to me, I'm going to hear your tefillas. I'm going to hear. It doesn't say that on the minute I'm going to do whatever you want, whatever you wish. But it says, I'm there. I hear your tefillas, and I'm going to help you. Whatever's best for you, I'm going to guide you and be with you. So you're trusting the Rebbeinu Shalom that even if you don't see that, then that's what's happening. That is what's happening right now. It means when a child comes in, let's say there's a student who comes into the yeshiva, shows up late. He didn't come to Shachas today. Now, this kid comes to Shachas every single day. 7 a.m. he's there. Every single day. One day, he comes late. The Mashgiach asks him what happened. He says, it's something private I can't say, but it was something very important, and I couldn't be here. Let's leave it like that. I couldn't be here. Now, if he's someone that's there every day, so the Mashgiach, if he's a healthy person, he's going to say, I trust you. That's what he's going to say. What happens if it's a kid that's playing games? His whole behavior is like that. He's messed up inside. He's the whole time he's saying this and that, and he says, I can't say. I couldn't be here. Why I couldn't be here? He says, when you'll be able to say, you could come back to this yeshiva. Well, think it over. Where's the difference if I trust, if I don't trust? So Hashem says, I'm listening, I'm there. Sometimes you have people on the phone, they say, hello, are you there? Yeah, I'm there. You don't hear. So when you trust the Rebbeinu Shalom, it means that the concept is, Hashem promised us. You daven, you bring out your pain. You're explaining to me you're so stuck in this massive, and I promise you I'm there. I'm listening, I'm with you, I'm helping you, I'm taking you somewhere. You don't see it right now. Hello, are you there? I'm there. That's called Bitachon. So that's the I'm trusting this posik. And now that's number one in the Megillah. It's Modia us that here we see that they didn't see right away how Hashem is there. It's not like when they davened, boom, the sky opened up. It's not what happened. But things moved around. Things happened. This happened and that happened. And then they saw They saw it clear like day afterwards. So now the person says, now you could know for always. We made a Megillas Esther. You could trust. So through their tefillas being answered, it strengthens our Amunah Bitachon for always. That we should remember this. That's one mahalach, one akud. But Bechlal, the etzem system of this world says in the Torah, not only this pasuk, the fact that when a person does tshuva, Hashem comes back and shows you toiva nigla. When a person does avedas, things don't work out. This is what it says in the Torah constantly. It says in the Torah that if you follow the path, then it constantly it says. Now when a person has a tzorah, when Klal Yisrael is having a tzorah, then they trust the Rebbeinu Shalom that if they come back, then it's going to be better. That means right now, let's take Klal Yisrael on this matziv. We trust the Rebbeinu Shalom that if we do tshuva, then things are going to be looking better. Sometimes people feel that they don't have a grip on Klal Yisrael to be able to take everybody together. We should all do tshuva. And that's why we could daven and try to be mezakas around. We could try to see what we could do. But we trust what he said. And this is what Rebbeinu Shalom said. This is what it says in the Torah. So the Megillas Esther is trusting that the concept, what it says in the Torah, that if a person does tshuva, and a person does tefillah, and a person comes back, then the gzeira goes away. Then the gzeira is going to go away. So that's called trusting in that. So it's not only tefillah, it's not only the tshuva that he did, it's the underliner of all those things is that the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to keep his word, what he promised in the Torah. Another nakuda of trust that is that the Rebbeinu Shalom told us in Ashrei that Tov Hashem l'kol v'racham v'kol ma'asav. The Rebbeinu Shalom only does good. Mashem lo yitzit. And it also says in the Torah that the rachmanos of the Rebbeinu Shalom is in every matzah for everybody. Every matzah for everybody, always. So we trust those psukim when we don't see it, when it looks like it's dim and dark, but it says. So if the Rebbeinu Shalom said it, then I trust him. I don't see it right now, but one day Hashem is going to open up my mind, and I'll be able to see, I'll be able to understand, I'll be able to chap what's going on. And that is called trust. Now, this addition that we just said, not only that tshuva and tefillah is going to bring us a Yeshua, just the person understands that while they're going through the matzah that they're going through right now, it's also now bringing to something good. The Zavedis, the fact that Hashem punishes is a good thing because it helps us and makes a Purim. It turns into good. So when I go through a matziv, even if I'm right now by the Ir Shushan Navoicha part, I'm right now the very sad part, but I trust the Rebbeinu Shalom that he brought me into this matziv in order to bring something better. This is no other malach. It's only constantly bringing me to the good and to the better. So it lifts the spirits of the person that not only is besak ve'efer, he knows that I'm right now on the way to get there. I'm building the Yesoidus to build the binyan. So right now we're digging in. So people are saying, you're digging in? I thought you told me it's going to be up. I didn't know you're building a tunnel. That's how you build up. So Hashem is digging into me. He's bringing me to a better spot. He's bringing to something higher. Constantly, always, this is happening. So that's also something very, very stark that a person learns from the Megillah. The very, very famous Chassam Sofer, in the Droshes, the Chassam Sofer says that Yaakov Avinu, when Yosef HaTzadik was lost, he thought Yosef HaTzadik died. Vayilbash sak ve'efer. He was zerbrochen. He was down. He was davening. The Medrash says because he knew that if one of his children are going to die when he's still alive, it means he's going to go to Gehenna. So it was devastating. So the Chassam Sofer says that Esther Hamalka, she didn't do that. While everybody was doing sak ve'efer, she made a suda. Why did she make a suda? Because she trusted in the Rebbeinu Shalom She knew that it's for the good. She understood it's for the good. So he says, that's his famous Lashon, Shasivloin Echad is Yoise Mikama V'Kama Tfilas. When a person is soivel, it means a person is maskum in the matzav, he understands the matzav. This is how it has to go. It's stronger than tefillah, stronger. So the Chassam Sofer says that Esther knew that the Yeshua is going to come, because for why does Hashem bring me here? He's only bringing me here because he wants to get me to a better matzav. Not stam. Nothing happens stam. Hashem put me into a matzav to bring it up. So she did it with simcha. That's why there's such simcha on Purim and everything, because we always believe, not even seeing right now, but we're going upwards. That's one of the sugas of Bitachon that we learn. She ended up making a suda, and Baruch Hashem, it wasn't a waste of money. It ended up becoming true. That zach. So it teaches us that when we're in a matziv, one of the mahalchim is that a person he makes a suda, and it's supposed to go into the person very, very stark. I don't see it right now, it doesn't make a difference. But he's being Moidiya himself. He's putting up a sign in his heart. Big sign. He should know Hashem is not going to leave go. And you have to push it through this matzav with simcha to experience it, to right now feel that nakuda. The Rebbeinu Shalom lives this hoya hoya v'yiyah. That means we only experience the current. We don't feel the past. We don't experience the future. We can sometimes think about it. We can sometimes daydream about it. But it's not here. Because we're living under the limitations of time, of Zman, so we can't live now the Osid. But the Rebbeinu Shalom is hoya hoya v'yiyah. So Klapa the Rebbeinu Shalom, right now, the future is happening. It's here. It's not Bechlal. Further, it's right here. So that makes that if a person wants to, he could connect to that future. He could dance now. He could be besimcha now. He could celebrate. Why? Because the future is toif. Mashiach is going to come, and it's the Tana Geula, and the Beis HaMikdash, and then we're going to be seeing why people went through what they went through. So who said that I have to right now experience the current? I have the ability through the Torah to connect to that. That's what a person does Shabbos. Shabbos is Lamalam and Azman. Now I'm singing. Why are you singing Mizmor Shel Yom Shabbos? He says, because Kol Malachti Yasir, but it's not. He said it is. Because if I'm in Zman, then I'm stuck with the current. But if I elevate myself and I take myself out of the Zman, then who says I'm not allowed to start with the future? You can't dance. A person that was waiting for a shidduch for their son, they were waiting a good few years for a shidduch and it didn't happen. The person told me the story. He one day he learned this. He started dancing in his kitchen together with his children, he's by the chazan of his child. Because why not? Bitachon, every of them was a chasana. So why can't I close my eyes and dance now by that chasana? He said a few weeks passed by and he became a chasan. It's a big koyach because you bring that future here, but not dafka because it is gula, because who's mechayev me? Who said I have to? Now, but I once spoke to a parent. I lost a child of in front of their eyes for 1 second to the next allergy reaction, allergic reaction. It was a shrek. Now we're trying to do mechazik. I was trying to do mechazik the parent, and the mother, she was saying, "Don't tell me that it's possible to get out of it." I spoke to parents, and they told me that you never forget. It's something you can never ever forget. So why are you saying you could be mechazik the moon and bitachon? It is what it is. So while we're saying, we're talking, they're trying to be mechazik. So as you come to Santa Zach, let's say there's a. She said she used the term "so bleibt allemal a loch in the hearts." There's always a hole in your heart. There's always part of your heart that's like bruised up. Now, when there's a hole, It's true. But you don't have to dance around there. You don't have to get into that hole. You could dance right here. It's emes. When a person is going through a matziv, they're not mechuyev to experience every minute, to live it. They could be in a different world. Even practically, Chochmas Chaim, a person could disconnect from the matziv, and they could be oisik in doing chesed for others, and they could be oisik in helping, whatever, and they don't have to live that matziv. But Toiradik, even when they do think about a matziv, they're not mechuyev to think about it current. They can think about it the future. Geuladik. Every golus is going to turn into a geula. Every golus turns into a geula. The way to experience the geula is to just know about that and trust in your Rebbeinu Shalom. If I trust, and by the Rebbeinu Shalom already the geula happened, so I could also be by that chasana. Put on your shtaimel, you put on your big day Shabbos, you're good. I'm there until the next time you remind yourself of the matziv, and then you'll hook into the future again. The Megillas Esther teaches us that Zach. It says in the Svarim that Achashverosh is Netrika, and the Melech goes on the Rebbeinu Shalom, and Achashverosh is Netrika in Hu Rishon, and also Achana Rishon in Achashverosh. That means the Rebbeinu Shalom is Achana Rishon. So by Rebbeinu Shalom, the Rebbeinu Shalom knew the future, so Eivishter made Vashti and the whole thing, because he was very rechaning the osid. So when a person does that, that's because of his trust. That's because of his trust. The Rebbeinu Shalom said, "As a gate zayin gut." The Rebbeinu Shalom is hoyo v'yeh. So what's the problem? The problem is a different problem. The problem is that I'm not living in that. So that has a solution, Baruch Hashem. I can live in that future. So that's a big chizik, huge chizik that a person takes out from the Megillas Esther, and it's meidiyah a person that it's by everybody like that, and that's a Kiddush Hashem. A person has to be meidiyah when they have a Yeshua, especially if it came from Bitachon, because that's a big covet for the Rebbeinu Shalom, to show that I trusted, and a lot of times people wait by the door to open, and people go away mid crisis. The guy said, I trusted he's going to open the door. I got in. And then he kept his promise. Someone has to be there to say that. The Mammon, he lived such a life. Okay.
I have a friend, he teaches